Tonight, a WUSA 9 exclusive. Our special assignment team has been investigating allegations around D.C.'s Department of Motor Vehicles.
Yeah, and one of them is about parking tickets. Workers who handled them tell us they were pressured by management to hold drivers liable for tickets that D.C. law says should have been dismissed.
The D.C. DMV denies the allegations. Larry Miller is getting to the bottom of the controversy.
Became clear early on that it wasn't about providing people with their day in court. It was simply about pushing numbers.
Last spring, I was introduced to a hearing examiner for DC DMV. They're responsible for adjudicating parking citations in the city. That now former employee made serious allegations about the department. We spoke on camera, and to protect their identity, we agreed to distort their voice and their image. Someone looking at this story might say you and others are disgruntled employees. To that, you would say what?
They've never received a parking ticket in the district. This system is predatory. It's designed to reap as much revenue as they possibly can.
This former hearing examiner with DC DMV says the agency promotes a culture focused on numbers and less on the administration of justice.
That's troubling to the union.
Joseph Davis, a hearing examiner for DC DMV and vice president of Locals 1975 for the American Federation of Government Employees, says it's not a healthy place to work.
As far as the environment is concerned at DMV, it is becoming a more toxic place to work.
The former hearing examiner who spoke to WUSA 9 also alleges DC DMV colleagues were encouraged to hold drivers liable for tickets that should have been dismissed, a violation of DC law.
Pursuant to DC code, if a citation is unsigned, it's void. It should not be processed. It should not be adjudicated. However, 3 supervisors told us to continue to process these documents, despite the fact that the copies of the facilities that we saw in the system, they were unsigned.
In addition to their interview, WUSA 9 spoke with 6 other current and former hearing examiners for DC's Department of Motor Vehicles who corroborated the allegations. They asked not to be identified.
The supervisors that were assigned to provide us with the trainings, like the experience, like the training, to be able to provide proper instruction, need to be able to do the job.
And when it came to the job, they said they were met with unrealistic time constraints.
There's also a great deal of pressure on all employees throughout the DMV to meet what are rather unrealistic performance standards.
The DC DMV tells us hearing examiners are expected to adjudicate a minimum of 600 tickets a month. We're told the policy was enacted 7 years ago after an analysis conducted by the DMV determined the policy was achievable.
We had to review a total of 14 cases per hour in order to meet expectations and essentially keep our job.
But the former hearing examiner says that leaves less than 5 minutes to determine whether or not drivers should be held liable for costly tickets. Were you able to meet that goal?
No. In fact, very few, if any, of the new hearing examiners were able to meet that goal. With that time pressure, there simply is not enough time to properly review that evidence and go through and making a determination of whether or not the citizen is liable or not.
The DC DMV declined our repeated request for an on-camera interview. They did agree to answer our questions via email. When questioned about the 600 monthly ticket adjudication minimum for hearing examiners, a spokesperson told WUSA 9 most employees successfully meet or exceed this standard.
It's just not enough time, especially when you have folks that submitted a lot of photographic and a lot of lengthy testimony. You simply couldn't read through those things.
In order to make the 600 a month quota, some hearing examiners said they were only able to meet that goal by taking advantage of bugs in the computer system that allowed them to register more adjudicated tickets than were actually heard. The former hearing examiner detailed a March Microsoft Teams meeting where a manager encouraged colleagues to hold drivers liable for tickets that did not have the officer's signature. DC law says the signature of an issuing officer is needed to prove the ticket is valid. In a statement, DC DMV said, if an officer's name and badge do not appear on the original ticket, it is considered defective and is dismissed. However, the automated copy might include relevant information such as the officer's badge number, but might be missing the officer's printed name due to a system error. The agency goes on to say the senior manager was merely clarifying that a missing officer's name on the ticket as opposed to the original was not grounds for automatic dismissal, and the ticket should be adjudicated on the merits. Multiple complaints were filed with DC's Board of Ethics and Government Accountability, better known as BEGA. That agency's response to one hearing examiner who filed a complaint said it was personnel related and outside of the enforcement authority of this office. As for now, the former hearing examiner said they are moving on, but hope things change for the people who continue to work at DC's DMV and the citizens that depend on the agency.
Until citizens get upset and demand change, there's going to continue to be victims of this system.
Larry Miller, WUSA 9.